Hi, everybody.
I'm John.
And I'm Ann.
And this is John and Ann's Wrestling Podcast.
Okay. It worked.
What instrument was I playing?
I wasn't looking. I was sloshing my brain around inside my skull. To give myself kind of like one of those tingly highs. And killing many of the brain cells in the process.
I love that when I stand up
Otherwise
too
known
fast.
as headbanging.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
When I stand up too fast and I feel real high for a second.
Yeah, that's what being high is like.
Yeah. I feel higher than when I was sitting.
Anyway, welcome to John and Ann's Wrestling Podcast.
Hello.
We are here this week, fresh off our visit to AEW Collision last night.
We were Tony Khan's personal guests, along with.
We were his personal guests that he didn't invite and didn't know were there.
Yeah, and doesn't know at all personally.
Yeah.
But we were there.
We were there.
You know.
We were sitting right behind the jib cam.
Yeah,
which was super fun.
Yeah. So one note for AEW is they had the. Like the crane, the jib cam.
Yeah, it's called a jib.
So the crane that the camera's on, they had the whole rig was basically right in front of our section for like 2/3 of the show.
It was our section captain.
It really was. And it was just like, you could only kind of see half the ring at any point.
Yeah.
But sometimes when he would turn, the cameraman would turn, you could see through his monitor. So that helped. And then at one point it moved.
Yeah.
For I think Taya Valkyrie versus Sky Blue.
Yeah.
And that was great. And then it came back, but I think they realized they had it right in front of a section of people.
Yeah.
And they moved it over like 2 feet where there were no people sitting. So that helped. That was great. Yeah,
that was kind of what was nuts about it, is that we were next to a section that had been blocked off for the camera.
Yeah, exactly. But they just like put it.
But they were right in front of us.
And
it's just like, why wouldn't you block this off?
We could have easily talked to them, but I was like, I don't want to bother a cameraman at work.
I don't think they would have listened to you.
No,
either.
they wouldn't have, So it's like,
I don't think we're not their boss.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but then I think they did realize that it was in the wrong spot. But yeah, it was annoying, but still a great show.
Yeah. We had fun.
We
spent about, because this is the first thing I always think of when I go out of the house, is that I spent $60 on food.
Yep.
I had a $40 meal that was just a cheeseburger, fries, and a Pepsi. That was $40 at the Prudential Center. And I also I have to say this because this is like the third time we've been to the Prudential Center for a wrestling show, right?
Yeah, we went to Rampage, Full Gear, and this.
Yes, and every single time we've gone to the Prudential Center for something, it always feels like the staff of the Prudential Center did not expect to have an event tonight.
Yeah.
Like, they're always, like, scrambling. Like, the food is always, like, either, like, super behind on making food or they're out of it. Like, we went through this.
Like, from the moment the show starts.
Like, to get a burger, because we were there at, like, 6:30.
Yeah.
Which is, like, the doors were, like, at 6, I think.
Yeah.
And we went to get a burger and fries or chicken strips or something. We're in line. There's no burgers ready at all and no fries. And they're not like looking at you to see what you want. It's self-serve. So you just stand there while they stand around talking. And there's one guy flipping burgers very slowly. And then I got to the Pepsi machine and there was no ice. And
at the beginning of the show.
This is at the beginning of the night.
Yeah, it wasn't like 10:30. It's like after Collision, we're hanging out during ROH. This is like the show has not even started yet.
This is like everybody just got there.
Yeah.
And they're already out of ice. They're out of burgers. They're out of fries.
Like, venue food is such a great example of like why capitalism is terrible, because it's like they're always understaffed on purpose. And they're always like, the second you get trapped in a location and have no choice of like where to go, price gouging happens immediately.
I want to add though that I do not think they were understaffed. There were like
I was trying to-
7 people back
It's
there.
true. There were a lot of people
And
back there.
4 of them were doing nothing.
Yeah.
Just standing there. But that's always how it is at the Prudential Center. Every time
Yeah.
we've gone, you go and you ask someone a question like, hey, where can I get ice for my fountain soda?
Mhm.
Because this machine is out of ice. And they look at you as though you've asked them where to find all the gold in El Dorado. You know,
Like,
they're like, what
man,
are you?
if I knew where El Dorado was, I'd be there now.
So yeah, I have notes on the Prudential Center.
Arthur
and really
Ashe-
all arenas, but mostly the Prudential Center.
I feel like UBS was all right. Arthur Ashe was better the second time. The first time, Arthur Ashe was 100% not ready for the people to be there because
It's so weird.
they were well because that one I don't think that they get like I'm sure
Was
the
that
U.S.
right
Open.
after the pandemic that you went?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so it was like
They
full,
legitimately
like,
weren't prepared.
It was very full when I went last year for Grand Slam at Arthur Ashe, but in 2021 it was like there was not an empty seat there, and it was they were, I mean, a friend of mine who is a loyal listener of ours and I were in line for I think about 45 minutes to get food. It barely moved, and we just had to give up. And so I
Yeah.
didn't eat anything for the entirety of the show
Yeah.
because I also didn't want to get up and miss anything. And so I remember I ordered like halal at like 10:30 or something so that it would get because we were about to close.
Yeah.
And I got home at like midnight and pounded a bunch of halal.
I didn't
food.
even tell you about how when I went to get the soft serve, the first soft serve stand I went to, the guy was like, "It's all watery. It's coming out watery."
I love it.
So I had to walk halfway
no
around the
solution.
arena to find another soft serve place to get the soft serve I wanted, and that lady was like not having it either, but she at least gave it to me. But it's just so funny. I always feel like I'm imposing on them. Like I just and everyone around me was being so nice to everybody too.
Mhm.
Like all the other customers, nobody was like throwing a fit or being snarky about any of this, but we're all being so polite, and it gives this vibe of like, please, can I have some food?
It does sometimes
Please?
feel like you had to convince them to.
Yeah.
Although I had pretty good interactions there, but everybody who like rang me up was really nice, and then I went and bought a beer and a water from this one girl who was. It was just like a little corner market, and basically it was like they put up a little bodega section, so you could just like go to a cooler and get what you wanted and take it to her. And she was on the phone the whole time, but she was apologizing to me about it, and she was like, "I'm on the phone with my little brother. It's just," and I was like,
Aw.
"That's okay."
That's nice.
And the interaction was not any slower because of it.
Anyway, the wrestling.
But the wrestling was top notch. It was a great. It was an interesting show because they had. This was the least like loaded episode of Collision they've done because the first premiere obviously there was a bunch going on and it was the premiere. Then they had like all these Owen Hart Cup matches. They had CM Punk versus Samoa Joe, which is also part of the Owen Hart Cup. And then so if we track this past week for Tony Khan wrestling promotions, we had the previous Saturday, we had Collision with a huge 2 out of 3 falls tag team title match of FTR versus Bullet Club Gold and the men's and women's Owen Hart Cup finals. So huge Collision. Then on Wednesday, we have Dynamite Blood and Guts, which is like one of the biggest Dynamites of the year. Huge show. Kota Ibushi's AEW debut. Then Friday, we have the Rampage that was filmed with that Blood and Guts, Royal Rampage. So we have like a special episode of Rampage. And also on Friday, they had a Ring of Honor pay-per-view, which currently they only do like 3 ROH pay-per-views a year.
Mm-hmm.
So this Collision was very much at the end of like Tony Khan is, creatively exhausted. This is a reset, you know. So, but it was a fun show, and I think it maybe was more fun because it was like didn't really have a lot of expectations for it. They only had announced like 3 matches. A lot of stories were going to be moved forward. It felt like a really well done Raw.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun.
They did that thing where that Raw does like almost weekly, where it's like somebody comes out to do a promo, the person they're feuding with interrupts, an unrelated heel interrupts, and then somebody who's feuding with that heel interrupts them, and so we do 4 guys to do a promo who then make a tag team match to main event the show.
And just so everyone's aware, I did boo CM Punk.
Mm-hmm.
I booed him hard. I was the only one. I was the only one in our group who did it. Everyone around us cheered him.
I abstained.
I booed alone.
I abstained. I did boo him once, smallly.
But it's interesting. It was so interesting to once again witness that reaction, and actually for the first time witness it in person, because you see it, like you kind of see their plan coming to fruition, which like you can tell their plan from the beginning was like, you're gonna get booed, but we'll just keep presenting you as a face until people forget what happened and like decide they want to move on.
Yeah,
Just
until
let
you
them
do
get their booze out,
Yeah.
and then like eventually they will accept what we want, which is for you to be a face.
It's a very WWE way to do it.
It is, and I feel very much like a WWE fan who's like, but I don't like him.
This was, I mean, that is what it
And
was
it's not
like.
that I don't like him. It's just that like he, well, and this is let me get through like what he was doing, because it was more confusing than just an audience that didn't know if he was a bad guy or a good guy, because like people would boo, other people would cheer, CM Punk chants would start, the audience would basically go through a roller coaster of emotions whenever he came out. His response to this, well, first they partner him with Darby Allin in a tag match, and I think the thing we were supposed to gather there, because Darby's like, with my friend CM Punk,
Which
and like
sounded
makes
like very tongue in cheek,
it sounded tongue in cheek, but also like
or maybe just forced.
didn't
is what
make
I mean.
any sense for it to be tongue in cheek, because were they feuding? Like, was he making
No.
fun of him? Like this
It
is what
sounded
I
very
mean.
forced, I guess.
There
is what
was
I meant.
no. Yes, it felt very forced, and then like throughout the match, CM Punk is like being very supportive of Darby, and at the end, he does this promo that like makes fun of New Jersey, where we were. Like is just kind of sassy. Like, but then he starts saying good things about Darby, and then he ends it with why people from New Jersey should like him. Like, kind of like, I guess, making a pitch to people to like him. But it was just very, very, very confusing to me, because you don't insult the audience you're in front of unless you are a heel. But then, like, when we boo him, we're incorrect, right? Because he's a nice guy and he's friends with Darby and he's being supportive, so we're supposed to cheer him. So it was just like this thing where all throughout the evening, as an audience member, you came in with what you already felt about CM Punk, and at no point did the show correct you.
Yeah.
It was like, you've got your baggage, you're going to sit there with your baggage while we feed both sides of this debate with what he's doing. It was just so strange.
It was, I mean, because he had a really good promo with Ricky Starks in the beginning, who Starks was very much a heel. And now I fully support this Ricky Starks heel turn, because he felt very much in his element.
And even though he's being kind of a like cocky guy in his promos, people weren't booing him. Like people were
Ricky
not
Starks, no, because
booing
he's
him
funny.
as though he's a villain. Like he wasn't being like, you know.
Well, he's also feuding with CM Punk, who's getting a lot of boos. If he was feuding with somebody who the crowd was more behind, he might get.
Yeah, but it was
some
funny.
more
He was
boos.
being charming.
He was exactly, and
So
he felt
yeah,
alive. He felt like he was being really genuine. And CM Punk was definitely more of the heel in that. Everything that Punk said, I mean, he got big reactions, and he felt very much like he was being a heel, because he was antagonizing the crowd on purpose. And then that was to start the show, and it did kind of feel like, okay, maybe this is where they're going. Maybe Punk is going to be the bad guy. And Punk also, he didn't really come off as annoying as he usually does lately. He just was like, I don't know, he wasn't kind of throwing himself a pity party. He was just being a dick, which kind of is what you want from him. But then at the end, he tried to be like, I was razzing you before. This is like post-show. He's like, I was razzing you before, but hey, I'm friends with this millionaire hockey player, and I'm friends with this other billionaire.
Like, yeah, I was razzing you before.
Yeah.
Because we're good friends, says the entertainer in front of the audience. Like, what? What?
Yeah, I mean, the issue is just that he broke the trust, and still we have not addressed the broken trust.
Because it's like, once they are waiting out the booze, clearly, because they're like, no, he's a face. We're going to keep presenting him as a face. We're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep partnering him with guys you like. We're going to keep pushing this as he's a face, he's a face, he's a face. But every once in a while, he's still going to make fun of you and antagonize you and provoke you right before he goes into some speech about how you should like him. And it's just, I don't understand.
I mean,
like, I know wrestling isn't easy. I'm not trying to say it's easy, but its strength is in its simplicity, which can kind of overlay some complexity. But what they're doing is they're like hiding simple truths with very complex, like they've tried to make him into like a complex character, and that just does not work when what you're dealing with is people chanting like the first thing that comes to mind.
It's because he won't admit that he did something wrong. I mean, that's at the core of this. he did something wrong. He won't fucking admit it. And then we just are stuck in this thing where he's trying to be this babyface, and I want to like
And
him.
not only that,
It's just like he just won't. I don't think. Well, I don't know.
well, they also can't admit anything even happened.
Yes, we can't talk about it
So-
because now everybody's going to sue each other if we do this thing,
You
right?
just
And
feel-
so we can't. He couldn't be the fifth man in the blood and guts, right? Which would have been fucking money if he could have been, right? Against the elite, that would have been amazing.
Yeah.
But
And it could have been part of the. It's just a mess. It's a real big mess.
I
in my
mean,
opinion.
it'll like
And-
work out to like a 70% success, probably for them. But it's just like it could be better.
Well,
And they just can't lean into any of it. I mean, if he's going to be a heel, that's great. But he's not
well,
being a heel. I mean, it's so John Cena. It's just the most John Cena thing. It's so incredible that he worked his way in almost by accident into. He wanted to be John Cena so bad for so long. Not to like be John Cena. He just wanted to be like the face of the company, the guy that, is like the main guy, right? And then he weirdly, like he got his chance to be the face of the company, to be in that John Cena spot, and somehow just became the exact same like face of the company as John Cena was, which is a guy that the crowd cannot get on the same page on. He's a heel to some people, a babyface to some people, and nobody knows how to react. And people are rebelling during matches because of it.
I was going to bring that up. I was going to say it's interesting. Like, I was very interested last night in the way the crowd was behaving. I actually took videos just of the crowd at various points because it was so interesting to watch this develop throughout the night. And one of the things that happened, or one of the lessons I learned, is that a divided wrestling crowd is a not good wrestling crowd. Like, one of the things about wrestling that is enjoyable is usually when you are in the crowd, everybody feels the same way about every character. And it's like, this person's a good guy, this person's a bad guy. That's why the heel face dynamic is so important, because it allows the crowd to know, okay, this is what we're all doing as a group. We're all booing. We're all going to chant, fuck you, shut the fuck up, whatever. Or we're going to chant this person's name. We're going to cheer for them. Everybody is united in that feeling. Last night, there were because CM Punk came out twice. So there were instances at the beginning of the show and the end of the show where the crowd was completely divided. Some people were booing, other people were chanting CM Punk. Because of this, before the last match, the ring announcer comes up and she's trying to get people hyped before they come back.
Yeah, during a commercial break, she comes out.
Yeah, but
and
before they go live, she's trying to get them hyped.
Like at a minor league baseball game.
She's calling out each section and asking them to cheer, She doesn't call out section 5.
I think she did call them out.
Well, whatever.
Yeah.
They all of a sudden start chanting after she's done with this. Section 5, section 5. And it's funny at first to me. But then they start doing it during the match.
Yeah.
And people start progressively getting angrier and angrier.
Because they're distracting from the match
So,
at this point.
we've got section 5.
There was a point literally where a guy was turned around, so his back is to the ring.
Yeah.
In section 5, leading the chorus of section 5.
Yeah.
I mean, if you turn your back to the wrestling at any point, something is wrong.
Yeah, and it was really distracting, and people started chanting back at them fuck section 5.
Yeah, and there was a nice section 5 sucks, section 5 sucks.
Yeah, people were...
There was legitimate arguing through chants.
And I found that very interesting. But I think it was just it's because I think when people are watching a match like that where they don't know who the heroes are, they don't know who they're supposed to root for, right? Or they don't agree on it, and there's a tension, right? There's this weird tension among the crowd because people behind us were chanting CM Punk, and I was booing, and I'm sure that bothered them. I'm sure they were probably annoyed with me, but I was like, I don't know what else to do. This is what I am gonna do because I'm in the crowd or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that tension just kind of boiled over into that particular conflict where it was hard to get invested in the wrestling because we were all so tense among each other that it was you felt like your neighbor was against you or annoyed with you. And it was just this unaddressed tension that was bleeding into a bad vibe in the crowd.
I mean, that is, again, how WWE crowds would feel with Cena, because there would be there'd be little kids. I feel bad for doing this, but there would be little kids I remember at WrestleMania 29, there were little kids in front of me cheering for John Cena and The Rock, and I was behind them booing both of them.
Yeah.
And it was like, I'm not proud of this, but that was the energy that was there,
Yeah.
And you know who I wanted to be in that match was CM Punk. But 10 years ago, CM Punk was in a different situation than now CM Punk.
Yeah.
But it really is like a dog who's having behavioral issues because like there's like a power vacuum. They don't know who's kind of supposed to be the alpha. So then they start being like, am I supposed to be the leader of the pack? Well, I don't know what to do. So I guess I'm just going to start chewing things up and destroying things because I don't know. And then so that's what happens. Also, AEW crowds are very susceptible to like ironic chants and meta stuff.
Yeah.
So if you open them up to it, it can be very dangerous.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Section 5 thing was really annoying. And it's just... But I think it is because there was that vacuum. If they were heavily invested, they would never would have done that versus like during like FTR versus Bullet Club Gold last week. You know what I mean?
Like if they knew who to root for, like I think it just demoralizes people.
Yeah.
Because they want to get behind what's happening, but if they don't know what's happening, they can't get behind it.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, these guys are wrestling, but I don't know who the good guy is. I don't know who the bad guy is. I'm worried if I boo, the guy next to me is going to get mad. If I chant CM Punk, the guy next to me is going to get mad.
Yeah, even if they're not thinking about it that... Like,
no, they're not. I'm
subconsciously
saying
or
this is
consciously,
entirely subconscious. This is
Yeah.
just crowd psychology. This is just how people act when they're in crowds.
Yeah, or they just get bored because they're not invested in the match.
Exactly. Like they get bored, they get anxious, and then they start acting out. And it's
like
like
a little dog who doesn't know. Who the
yeah,
dog
but
leader
it's
is.
not even like I almost feel like part of it is also like AEW trying to dominate the crowd in a way the crowd resents.
That sounds familiar.
Like yeah, like trying to shove this face CM Punk down.
Can't remember where I've seen that before for 10
down
straight
people's
years of my life.
throats, and they resent it. And so not only are they like not united and not on the same page, but now they feel condescended to in a way that probably makes people a little bit annoyed.
Pull up the footage from Royal Rumble 2014, John Cena versus Randy Orton, which is probably the best example of that.
Yeah, I almost feel like it's more like being in a passive-aggressive relationship where, like, one person does something the other person doesn't like, so the other person, like, passive-aggressively acts out.
It's also kind of like gaslighting because you're just like, what are you talking about? This is great.
I threw you a look right after I said passive-aggressively acts out.
Huh?
And you didn't respond, and now I just look like a jerk. So
Yeah, you're emotionally abusive, and I just take it from you.
oh, anyway, we had a good time at Collision.
We did. It was a great show, and even that main event that we're like, giving all this feedback to, it was a really good main event.
It was, and they got
they
the
had a really
crowd
good
back
match.
eventually.
Yeah, they did.
You
The
could
last like
see it
5
on
to 10 minutes of it were great.
Yeah, and you could see it on their faces. They understood what was
They were
something was wrong.
They were definitely talking to each.
Yeah, they were definitely like trying to figure out how they could get the crowd back.
I did love Christian Cage and Ricky Starks arguing over which one of them was going to start the tag match because neither one of them wanted to start, and they were just saying, "You start."
Yeah.
Very fun.
Because that's the thing is like Ricky Stark is such a cool guy. You want to root for him. I mean, last night was the first time I really enjoyed Ricky Stark. I was always kind of agnostic on Ricky Stark. I was not bullish on Ricky Starks. I know.
He's not in Winterfell.
Sorry.
Or the Iron Man
can't make
suit.
any small mistakes
You
around
can't.
this one.
He and his sister Billy are gonna.
Yeah.
Would
anyway,
you have called her Billy Stark?
I don't know. Sometimes I misspeak, guys. I'm
do.
not the best talker. I'll be honest.
No, you're not. You're a great hand in the ring. Not the best promo.
I'm not. I sometimes do fumble over words, and it's embarrassing, and I get
God,
embarrassed.
Now I'm the manipulative one.
Yeah. Anyway, Ricky Starks. Ricky Starks was. Everybody loves the sound of an S on a podcast.
Yeah, Ricky's
too.
Starks.
Like that's what people like listening to in their headphones.
This is
Someone
ASMR.
going,
That's fine.
Yeah, you can feel it in your teeth. Anyway, Ricky Starks is a really fun guy who I really started to enjoy last night in a way I have never before. And so that was complicated because Christian is such a heel.
Oh, he's so great.
Like he's so like boo, boo, boo heel. Whereas Ricky Starks is like a heel in the sense that he talks about like being good looking, but he's funny and he's charming. And so it's like you wanted to root for him, but he's paired with Christian who's like evil.
Talks about how everybody's dad is dead.
Yeah. And then they're against a guy I was booing plus a guy I like okay. And so it was just, emotionally it was a mess of a match.
It is interesting to watch because it's like, where are we going with all this?
Yeah.
But I had been like, Starks was a great heel, but then he was like such a really good babyface, and he's a very great babyface wrestler. He's very good at like working a comeback and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I wanted him to be maybe like the top babyface on Collision, and I was really having. So when he turned heel, I was like, I don't know if this might be like regressing for him. But he was so good, and he felt so in his element, and everybody was so excited. And I think this is actually like exactly what you want to do with him. I had a full 180 on it, 100% support him being a heel. He was great. Talking about how sexy he was and all this stuff. It was like, this is perfect. He just needs to stay, and this crowd was eating it up.
They loved it.
Yeah, it was great. And then he was in the main event. Best thing he ever did was being like, I'll work with CM Punk. Sure.
Oh, Ricky Starks?
Yeah, because then he gets all this time on Collision. And if he had been like, I don't want to work with CM Punk, then maybe he would have been on Dynamite, And he sure probably would have been fine, but this way he gets to be like the star of Collision.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's great. I was thinking also about this match, and I almost feel like Darby aligning with CM Punk is not ideal for Darby either.
Mm-hmm.
Because right as I said, like the thing where I was like, a guy I'm booing and a guy I kind of like, right? Like Darby I like, but Darby does have that like art school guy who doesn't take notes persona that we've always kind of made fun of a little bit. Not because we don't like Darby, but because it's like kind of funny to be like, oh yeah, this art student who like doesn't take notes.
Very pretentious. Yeah. And probably would be annoying to talk to.
It's a character you can kind of see being heelish in that way.
Yes.
And quite unfortunately, that is the kind of persona that CM Punk, if he's trying to be a face, probably doesn't want to be lumped in with, because that is the worst part of CM Punk's persona, is the guy who doesn't take notes, the guy who's like precious and like can't be criticized.
Yeah, shits on everything.
Like it reminds you of that. And so it's like, I don't know if this is where we should put him,
Darby also is great. He's probably one of my favorites in AEW, right? But he shouldn't talk for more than a few lines. Like his promos should be like I think it would work for him if he's like this dark, mysterious guy. I don't want to know too much about him. You know what I mean? I want him to be this guy who's all like goth and like
guy who ripped half his face off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he just does these like probably short, sinister, maybe overly artsy lines about like poetically how he's gonna like take you out.
Yeah.
And he'll do his like film school shorts. I love those like promos those videos that he does.
Mm-hmm.
Those are great. And just like have him communicate through that. Don't have him out there talking like for 20 minutes. Like it just doesn't. It's like why the Undertaker didn't do long promos. Like Darby is an Undertaker type of character,
or a Sting type of character. Yeah, I don't even think Sting
used to do longer. I mean, Sting was more of a normal guy at first, and he would do like longer normal promos, and then he became the Crow because he was trying to oust the NWO from.
I did see
WCW.
a thing about that a while ago.
Oh, great!
Him changing his makeup.
He did. It was a big deal. He turned his back on WCW too because people didn't believe that he was. Not with them.
Yeah. What other Collision thoughts do we have? Sky Blue Taya Valkyrie was great. I enjoyed that match a lot. Taya Valkyrie. Seeing
great.
her in person is
she's a star.
Wonderful. I don't think I've ever seen her wrestle in person before.
Yeah, maybe. I saw her at MLW here at Melrose Ballroom.
Yeah, no, I was really
we
impressed.
saw her at AAA actually. It was remember when we went to that AAA show at
I don't think I went
Hulu
with
Theater? I think you were there.
Oh.
And so it was her versus.
This was years ago, folks.
Like
this was like pre-pandemic.
Yeah, it was like 2019. AAA did a show there, and it was her versus. I forgot about this till just now. It was her versus Tessa Blanchard, which in a great match as well.
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
But she was a star, and this match really got. I don't know if people were like, ironically cheering for Sky Blue. I don't think, but it was a very good match. The crowd was very into it.
I don't think they were being ironic
at
all.
No, she's a good babyface.
People were like cheering for her like they would cheer for their little sister. You know,
exactly.
It didn't feel silly or anything. Like because I would see guys like stand up on the floor and like
come on, Sky Blue.
Yeah, they seemed legitimately like good for her.
There was a great like blue.
Yeah.
Blue. She should team up with Blue Cane.
That would be awesome.
She should work.
Did you know Blue Cane got suspended from Twitter because of the Indie Taker?
Oh, yeah.
Or at least he said that in a promo.
Matt Cardona got him well, he claimed that he got him suspended from Twitter, which is probably somewhat true.
Also, I haven't fact-checked it.
Yeah.
Anyway, did you want to do some ROH thoughts?
Sure, yeah. I'm going to add some...
we liked Collision. We liked seeing it live. It was fun. Tony gave Tony appeared 3 times
Oh my God! Yeah, if you
to
see,
hype the crowd up, and it was great.
Tony will appear 3 times.
We loved it. We loved it every time. I recorded every instance on my phone for safekeeping.
The last one you pointed out that he was. He was
Can
like,
I do it? I'm gonna
Yeah,
physically do it. He was like, first of all, we love you, Tony,
We
and
love
we
you,
find
Tony.
your appearances to be so charming. So
Yes.
when we make fun of you, we're doing it as in a loving way.
Yeah.
But it was like the last time he addressed us, he came out and he said some stuff, and then he was like, "Yeah, you guys are ready, yeah." And he's like, slowly his body starts turning, like his shoulders move, and he's just like continuing to talk as he's slowly like walking back
when you're
away from us.
when you're trying to leave a party or whatever, you're like, all right, yeah, good to see you. Okay, what's that? Yeah, okay, all right, okay. Hey, what? Yeah, of course. That was what he was doing, but it's funny because we couldn't respond, so he could have just ended this whenever he wanted. There was no need. We couldn't call him back. He could just be like, okay, thanks, bye. It was just, and it also
was great.
I love seeing him. He didn't even have to go out there. He could have just,
And we were with a friend of ours who's worked at WWE, and they were like, "Oh my God, he is so much. He's like night and day charming compared to Vince." And I was like, "Yeah,
Vince McMahon. He really is."
Because you just see him, and you're like, "I just root for this guy, man. I just root for him, even though he's $1 billion. He still seems like an everyman, cool, like." Just
Vince
as nervous as any of us would be type
Vince
of
is
dude.
a ruthless jock, and Tony is a charming little nerd. You know what I mean? It's great.
Tony has heart in the game.
Vince McMahon hates his product, and Tony loves it. That's the thing.
That is the difference. But we really loved it. I might put some of those. I might put some of my recordings online later for other people to enjoy because they're just wonderful. And it was funny because the people behind us too, before he came out, I heard the guy telling his friend, like, he's gonna come out here, he's gonna yell, and it's gonna be so funny.
Let's
dude.
go.
Like everybody in the crowd is just so excited to see Tony because we all know what's coming, and we just love it.
It's so sweet. I love Tony.
Yeah.
He came out. That was, and he. I do have. Okay, I guess we'll move into these ROH because this is part of ROH.
Yeah.
I was gonna talk about the ROH pay-per-view, Death Before Dishonor. I have a note for the ROH TV show. Just do an hour.
1 hour.
1 hour a week. No more, no less. Just film an hour before Collision. Every Saturday. Before Collision, you do a tight 1 hour show. Not everybody needs to be on every episode. If there's somebody you want to be on it more regularly, if they're not wrestling that week, do a promo. I think a thing you can look to. I don't want to make ROH NXT, and I don't want to give them notes like WWE, but NXT was one of the, even still kind of, was one of the most perfectly structured and booked wrestling shows. It was 1 hour a week. They taped it in 3 hour chunks, but they would do the tapings monthly, and it was local, so it would be like the same people that would go every time. And so they would cut it up into 3 to 4 episodes. And they would just have so Johnny Gargano couldn't wrestle every week, but he would be on it 3 times because he would wrestle. He'd do a backstage promo. He'd do a pre-recorded promo, and so you would have people rotate, and it was great. Yeah. And you would build an audience that way.
And when you don't have commercial breaks, you can do a lot in an hour.
Yeah, it's a full hour.
Yeah.
And ROH right now is I haven't even been watching. It was getting better. It was finding its footing. But it still is sometimes be 2.5, 3 hours. Sometimes be an hour and a half. And I'm like, if this was 1 hour a week, like Rampage, I would watch ROH every week.
Oh, I love Rampage because it's an hour.
Exactly. And so
I feel like I never miss Rampage because it's an hour.
Exactly. And you have to be right now you just want to build an audience, a regular audience is going to watch the show, and you want the show to feel important. And if it's an hour every week, everything on the show is going to feel more important than when it's 3 hours.
Yeah.
And you're there's 15 throwaway matches here.
You can plan better.
Yes.
When you know a show is an hour long, you can say, okay, I've got 2 hours before I got to leave for this thing or whatever. I can watch an episode of this and then get ready. And that, it just fits more seamlessly into your life as opposed to, I don't know how long this is. This is like a whole afternoon's investment.
Yeah, because what did they do? So they started shooting because we got there at 6:30 or something.
Yeah, we got
and they
there
had
at
already.
6:20, yeah.
So they shot matches for at least an hour and a half or so before Collision started. Then Collision ends at 10. We stay until about 11.
Yeah.
And then they still did another 5 more matches after that. At least 2 of which I'm sure were very short squash
And
matches.
I'm
Looking at the
pissed
results,
you looked it up and you realized that the main event on that ROH was Dalton Castle and Sonny Kiss, 2 wrestlers we love.
yeah, we wanted to be there
We
to
would
support
have
them.
loved to have seen that.
But I don't want to stay till 12:30 to see.
I know.
You know, and so it's just like it's just crazy to do. Or if you're going to do it before and after, just do like half an hour. It's just because you're also getting your audience out of there. But like,
Yeah.
there's not going to be any audience. It's going to feel dead. Everybody's tired.
Yeah.
Just do an hour. That's how exactly what they do with Rampage. They do an hour before or after. I think it's usually after Dynamite, right?
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes the crowd leaves or whatever, but for the most part, the crowd is going to stay for Rampage, and they're going to be hot for the whole show. Because if you're just doing maybe a dark match or something in the beginning of the show, you're doing 2-hour Dynamite, 1 hour Rampage. That's a 3-hour show. It's a normal wrestling show.
Yeah.
You can get through that. There's not, but this is like, it becomes like a 6-hour show.
Yeah.
And it's like, just do an hour a week, a solid, well-booked hour. And
We'll watch it.
I would watch it, Tony. Please. This is only going to be better for your roster. That said, ROH has been getting better. The Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view was great. Really good show. One thing, though, is like Tony Khan, man, he loves the heartbreaking loss, because last pay-per-view it was Eddie Kingston. I was like, man, he's got to beat Claudio, and then he didn't. And then this time it was like, man, Willow's gotta. It's like Willow, she lost to Athena once in like a heartbreaker title match. Then she beat her in the Owen Hart Cup tournament, and then won the Owen Hart Cup tournament. Gets a rematch, and the main event, the last match on the show, after like almost no titles on this show have changed hands. And after like a very simple screw job finish to the ROH World title match between Claudio and Pac. And it was a great match. Lots of great callbacks to like women's wrestlers of the past. But she lost again. And it was like another heartbreaking loss. It's just like, man, it's cool because it's cool to like build up these rivalries and build up these champions and championships and make them like feel really important. So when they do lose, it's a big deal. But it's also like, it's a fine line between like letting it go on and on and on and on. So it's like a bigger deal and it means more, and just like missing your opportunity for somebody.
Yeah. Do you want to move on to shoot in the awards? Because we were going to talk about something else, but I feel like we don't have time, and I want to make sure we give time to that.
We can do that next week.
Because we were going to talk about unions, but we'll talk about that next week.
Yeah, and not just the faction that was called the Union, which was a couple guys that left the corporation in WWF in 1999. It was,
Like and subscribe, and we'll do a whole episode next week on unions.
Yeah.
It'll be great.
It'll be great. So we'll move on to Oh Shoot,
formerly known as Gossip Corner. Because nobody knows what shoot means.
That's right. People know what a shoot. If they're listening to this, they probably heard of shoot.
All right.
This is good, but here I just have like small things. One, I was just gonna make fun of CM Punk constantly talking about the billionaires and millionaires he's friends with as a babyface move. Picking David Zaslav at the beginning of the writer's strike, until Bob Iger did his promo. I think David Zaslav was like the least popular one.
He was the Jeff Jarrett of the writer's strike for a long time.
And so he was like, David Zaslav,
the real heel you actually hate.
David Zaslav loves me. And it was like, if you're being a heel, this is brilliant. If you're not, this is a very weird choice. But it was just
it really is like being like, Vince McMahon loves me.
Yeah.
Like, good.
Because he also talked about how he was friends with like the owner of the Devils or like some like famous hockey player. And it's like, first of all, I don't know who this is. Second of all, it is just like, all these people that don't pay you anything. I love these guys. They love me.
Yeah. Oh, God.
It is very funny.
Anyway.
But another thing that has been happening, MLW, Major League Wrestling, has been suing WWE for monopolistic practices. And at one point...
Wait, WWE has been suing...
MLW has been suing WWE.
MLW has been suing WWE.
Yeah. I like how I said that. I said the acronym, the full name.
Sorry.
And then say.
No, I know. I heard it wrong. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
Sorry, guys.
It's okay. I know. You wrestled last night at ROH because they were like after a while at ROH. Once it hits 3 a.m., they're like, "Does anybody else want to wrestle?"
There really is no room for mistakes on this podcast.
There isn't, unless they're mine. In that case, then get off my back. But yeah, so MLW is suing WWE for being a monopoly and for like trying to behave like a monopoly and stopping them from competing. And at one point, the judge gave them an extension because he wanted them to fix something about their argument. And then in that extension period, WWE started, or Peacock, I think, like bought out or started a relationship with Reels, I think, the streaming service, which MLW had just very recently been like, we're going to have our show on Reels. And then in this time frame where the judge gave them a chance to like strengthen their argument or whatever, WWE like helps, or Peacock is like, basically they get them screwed out of this streaming deal. And it was like, what a perfect thing to put in this. And then so the judge was like, okay, this is a great argument. And then WWE tried to get them to dismiss it. And the judge was like, no way, this is a good argument. And so now they're suing them. And what I'm reading, based on purely rumors, is that WWE is like getting very kind of particular about how they approach talent and how they talk to talent. And they like will not talk to anybody who's currently signed anywhere unless they like are their contract is up, basically. Like, I mean, 30 years ago, 25 years ago, Chris Jericho's in WCW. His contract's about to expire, but it's not yet. He's still under contract with WCW. And in where is it? This book, he talks about how he like went to Vince McMahon's house while he was under contract to WCW, and Vince had like all these brownies and they had like a whole thing, and they were talking about how, oh yeah, it sounds like it sucks there.
I would never eat Vince McMahon's brownies.
No. They're filled with steroids.
I would never accept a baked good from Vince McMahon.
No. There should be a tag team called the Baked Bads. And they're like anyway, so they used to do whatever. And even like last year, 2 years ago, there were a lot of rumors that they were approaching AEW. Like once Triple H took power again, he was bringing all those people back. There were a lot of rumors that that WWE was reaching out to like Swerve Strickland and Malachi Black and all these people that were under contract to AEW now that they wanted to bring back.
Yeah.
And that's like contract tampering. And so now I think they're like very, very, very reluctant to like reach out to anybody because of this. And I mean, like, they would love to be. They were a monopoly for a long time, and they're trying to like remain that.
Yeah.
So I love this lawsuit.
That's exciting. I'm going to keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
And then what's the Cardona thing?
Oh, just that he was apparently on a DDT show in Japan. Peter Pan, which I think is like one of their bigger shows. And DDT is like a great promotion, but it's like also like 30% comedy. Like that's, I believe, where Yoshihiko came from.
Yeah.
And so that Yoshihiko, I know, is a very serious wrestler, but Matt Cardona was there, and so Chelsea Green, his wife, just won the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship with Sonya Deville, and he was wearing her tag team championship belt at this DDT show, and people online were like, "There's got to be a replica, right?" And some people are like, "Does it matter?" It's still like kind of a huge.
You got a logo for another. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, DDT, I'm sure doesn't care, but like.
No, I know, but
WWE, I'm like, that is.
It's the use of their logo and intellectual property.
That is dangerous. Yeah.
That's very dangerous
for her. So I don't know, like what I wonder. Some people are like, I wonder if he cleared that with Triple H. But it is.
I have a little bit of gossip.
Sure.
Last night when I was trying to get a burger at Prudential Center, which was a 20-minute, venture, I helped the person in front of me figure out how to get a hot dog. And that person was David LaGreca, who's the co-host of Busted Open on SiriusXM.
Wow.
So you're welcome, David. I hope you enjoyed your hot dog. I was the person who explained how to get one, kind of.
Wow. Our sister show.
All right, should we do the awards?
Yeah.
Let's do this week's awards. First up is promo of the week.
And I think we are in agreement on this. For the first time in history.
We picked the same one. We picked the same one, which is Ricky Starks on Collision.
Ricky's Starks on Collision. That's right. He was great. Crowd was so into it. I was so happy. Like, it was just felt like just such a fully formed character. It was so comfortable, and it was like, this is exactly, it just felt so right.
Yeah.
You know?
And again, like I said, I've seen Ricky Starks do several promos in my time, and I've said this to you, much to your chagrin. I've gone, I don't quite get what people like Ricky Starks so much. I mean, he's fine, but I just never connected with him that much.
You're wrong, and I screamed at you.
Well, I wasn't wrong because everybody's opinions, when it comes to art, are valid because they are their own.
Mm-hmm.
But this promo last night was funny and it was charming and it made me get his deal.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, oh my gosh, I really like Ricky Starks. So good job, Ricky Starks.
You did it, Richard.
You got over with me personally, and that's big. I had an honorable mention though.
That's fine. It's okay because we had
the same one.
We had the same one, and also we didn't do a show last week, so I think I put more than one match.
But wait, because my honorable mention happened this week, didn't it?
Yeah, but it's okay.
Yeah.
We built it up.
Right. Anyway,
we saved it. We have a slot saved.
My
up.
honorable mention was this week on Dynamite. You know it's coming. It's MJF and Adam Cole doing a dance off against Daniel Garcia and Sammy Guevara.
Yes.
Yeah. It was a dance off, and Adam Cole is not a good dancer, but it was very fun, and I love, love, love when wrestlers do a dance off. It's my favorite thing.
We saw that at House of Glory.
We did. We saw it at House of Glory. It's something that happens rarely, and a good amount of rarely. Like
yes.
the rareness of it is what makes it special because
yes.
you never know when it'll happen. You'll probably see one every 6 months if you watch a lot of wrestling, and then when it does happen, it's
depends on how much GCW you watch.
Well, they don't do.
They don't do it. No, it's actually not that much. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen a GCW dance off.
No.
Because they throw each other into barbed wire and stuff. They're not dancing.
No, they do fun stuff too. Though.
But I have some fun stuff from GCW. I'm going to talk about later. But wrestling dance offs, when they do happen, it's rare, it's exciting, it's thrilling, it's wonderful. Great job, boys.
Yeah, it was great. And then FTR had a good in-character response to it, which is that they were like, they're making jokes about this, and we're going to kick their asses because this is very serious to us.
Yeah, they're dancing, and I'm like, you know what? This makes me work for MJF more. Because it was funny when they mentioned that, too, because they mentioned it, and the crowd cheered.
Yeah, they did.
Because the crowd loved it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It was, this is the first Forbidden Door, Dynamite versus Collision match. Because it's the serious Collision patient wrestling versus Dynamite just wacky fun.
Versus the fun stuff people enjoy watching.
Well, people like Collision as well. Collision is good. But
I'm talking smack.
Down?
Yeah, I'm talking smack down.
You're talking smack down to people.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was it really is kind of like the two ideologies. But we'll see what happens. Actually, it was kind of a big week for dancing because Daniel Garcia also wrestled Katsuyori Shibata for the Ring of Honor Pure Championship at Death Before Dishonor, and the whole thing was about him bringing out his serious wrestler side and not dancing, but the dancing was so over. And he danced as Shibata had him in a sleeper hold. He was dancing as he was passing out.
And Ryan Nemeth on Ring of Honor also did a lot of hip thrusting this week. He posted a clip of it, and he was real proud of that. So. Hollywood Hunk also
put Hollywood
dancing.
Hunk on TV.
All right. Match of the week. You seem to have picked far more than one match. Which doesn't feel fair.
I did.
And
I did.
Undermines the whole point.
I did a match from last week and a match from this week, and I'll delete this other thing.
Okay, that's all right.
So last week's match was something that it was the FTR versus Bullet Club Gold 2 out of 3 Falls
of
tag
course,
team title
everybody
match.
loved that match.
It was great, and everybody loved it because it was honestly a masterpiece.
I watched it with my brother, and it was funny because we didn't know it was 2 out of 3 Falls because we didn't watch the very beginning of it. But it was funny because we were kind of jumping around watching different things and coming back to it when it was off commercials, and the length of the match was really jarring to us because we were like, they're still wrestling.
Yeah, I love a 2 out of 3 Falls match that's like that because it's more realistic because it's if a normal match is 20 minutes, the first fall shouldn't happen in 2 minutes. I mean, it can, and you can justify it, but it's it makes more sense that it would take forever to get that first fall, and then it would make sense that the other 2 falls would be a little faster after that because they're more they're tired now. So that was a great match. Yeah. I mean, you got to seek that out if you watch nothing else from AEW for the past several months. It's that, and then I'll say this week, with all the G1 stuff that's going on, I mean, G1 Climax Tournament, so many great things happening in it. Check it out. But I'll give it to Willow Nightingale versus Athena from Ring of Honor. They had a great match. A lot of callbacks to, like I said, women's wrestlers of the past. A lot of were doing a bunch of finishers from people.
Oh.
And it was just like a tribute to women's
They
wrestling.
do like a Lita Moonsault kind of deal?
No, it was more like indie wrestling stars.
Oh,
like
that's
Daisy
cool.
Hayes and Ms. Chiff.
Wow.
And Sarah Del Rey, who is one of the head trainers in NXT. And she was like a big indie wrestling women's star, and then basically retired when she signed with WWE, and has been one of the main reasons why the WWE women's division has been like more prominent now, because she started training them. Instead, they used to, I believe, train them to be like catfight stuff and hair pulls and stuff like that. And she was like, I'm just going to train you exactly the same way they train the men.
Yeah.
So you're going to learn all the same stuff. And it's obviously has been better.
Yeah.
And so, so it was a great match.
That's good.
And Athena, I like don't want Athena to leave ROH. I want there to be more women's content on AEW, but I'm like afraid it won't happen. And I'm like, I don't want her to just join the Outcasts and be nobody.
Yeah, Athena's her own force. Like I would hate to see her join a faction unless she was the clear leader of it, because she's,
even though she like makes logical sense to join the Outcasts because she's also a former WWE person who hates everybody.
But she's also just her own person in such a
exactly.
way that like I think that it would be very disappointing to see her forced to conform to like a larger.
I think they should approach her.
Yeah,
and I
think
she should be
no. I think she should be too crazy.
Yeah,
this is the thing about Athena, is that she's like a heel, and she's thinks she's better than everybody, but she's also like touched.
Crazy. Yeah,
she's like insane.
Yeah.
She's got like that like Nikki Cross.
She's
got like that Nikki Cross energy to her, kind of, but in a more calculated way. Like she's not feral or anything, but she's just like an evil genius, is I guess what I would say she is. So I don't think she would work well with the Outcasts because they're a little bit too juvenile.
Yeah.
Like the spray paint thing. Like they're kind of like just punks, literally. Yeah. So I don't think that
it was fun.
Fits.
It was funny, man. This Owen Hart tournament, both of them, those finals, it was a bad night for heavily tattooed punk rock ex-WWE wrestlers who were also friends with the band Rancid. I mean, both of them, CM Punk and Ruby Soho.
All right, is it time for my match of the week? Because I'm excited.
I think so.
I'm excited to share about this match. So my match of the week is a GCW pick from the GCW show. There were a bunch of them this week, and I already forgot which show this was on.
I should have. GCW, when I went to that live, my God, Yoshihiko and Speedball, and there were so many great matches.
Anyway, it happened this week. I'm going to pull it up right now so I can give you the correct name of the show, because otherwise because GCW always has
silly
names for all their
Now and
things.
Forever was the one I went to here.
Yeah, Planet Death. That's what it is. I was like, it's called like Planet Injury or something, but no, Planet Death.
No, it's full. They went all
far more serious.
Yeah.
And Charlie Evans, Rina Yamashita, and Sawyer Wreck were in a trios match against Daisuke Masaoka, Isami Kodaka, and Yuko Miyamoto. And this match is crazy because on commentary they have Kikutaro.
Kikutaro? Oh my God, on commentary? Wow.
And so you get like all the Rina Yamashita like crazy stuff where she's like grabbing dudes' balls. Mm-hmm. And then you get like the response of, I'm going to pull it up and just play it because it's so ridiculous. Okay, hang on. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Yeah. Okay.
Rina's got the biggest balls of everybody in this match.
Oh, yes. Smash! Smash!
Smash. Squeeze. Miyamoto will never have kids again. Ball for ball, Kiku.
Yeah.
So he yells smash, smash, smash when she's like grabbing this guy's balls, and that's funny. And then there's another moment where Sawyer Rhett gets staple gunned in the crotch.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's very yikes. But then Sawyer Rhett gets the staple gun and staple guns the guy's crotch.
Oh no.
And then
No one's crotch is safe.
And then Kikutaro responded with this. Okay.
You know what? I think I know what's coming here.
Oh! Oh! This is karma. This is karma.
Yes, it is karma. That is correct, Kikutaro.
Sounds like Triumph the Insult Comic
Yes,
Dog.
that's exactly what I was gonna say. That's why I added it to the soundboard because I was like, I need the this is karma. This is karma. Anyway,
this is also a picture. Maybe we can add this.
Oh
of
yes,
Stephanie McMahon and Kikutaro with WWE legend Stephanie McMahon, the creator of women's wrestling.
That's funny.
Um,
But no, it was great because so many matches that are already crazy and fun to watch, they just get put over the top for me when there's good commentary.
Oh yeah.
Like Jericho was doing commentary on the dance off, which really put it over the top for me. Because Jericho's commentary is always fun. And this guy doing commentary on this match just put it way over the top for me. So that's why it's match of the week on my end.
That was great. I mean, God, there were so many. The GCW Now and Forever show that I went to at Melrose Ballroom, because I guess we didn't talk about it at all. What a perfect wrestling show that was. Check it out. It's on Fight Plus, I believe. It had every kind of... I mean, there was like a serious, women's indie wrestling type main event. There was a Yoshihiko match with Speedball that ended up being kind of like a parody of Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega 2. There was Maki Ito and Billy Starks had a great match, and in the middle of it was a pose off where Billy Starks was trying to learn how to pose like Maki Ito.
The pose off.
Yeah.
Aww.
George South came in. He's like the 60-year-old wrestler who just was doing
with the baseball bat.
Yeah, who was just doing like super like old school heel stuff to like piss off the crowd. Took no bumps until he ran into the referee and he bumped for the referee.
I really, the more I think about it and the more I watch wrestling and the more we talk about like AEW's lack of women's matches, the more I realize that I think GCW is what I want AEW to be. Like I continually watch GCW shows and I go, wrestling's awesome. I love wrestling. This is so good. I am having so much fun. This is great. And then I go to an AEW show and I like it. Not trying to say it's not good, but I'm saying like I don't get that same like, oh my God, this could only happen here. Oh wow, like I just don't have the same psychotically happy reaction to it that I have to a lot of GCW shows.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like AEW's women's wrestling has like regressed in a weird way because at first they were trying to like build it from nothing essentially because they had like Britt Baker and a few other like people, but WWE had signed in 2019. WWE had signed like every like independent or available women's wrestler that was good or was prominent or whatever. They signed everybody away, so he had to really build it from almost nothing. And I think they were going to bolster it with Joshi talent from Japan, but unfortunately, in the first year of AEW, COVID happened, so they couldn't have a lot of international stars. So they were just kind of like building from they had kind of a small roster. And then they built it up over time. Britt Baker got really over. Thunder Rosa was there. They got Tony Storm, and they had Jamie Hayter got really popular, and it was like building and seemingly getting better and expanding. And then now it's like regressed to on Dynamite Blood and Guts. They had one women's match that was a minute long.
60 seconds,
It
folks.
was Britt Baker versus a jobber.
In a 2-hour show.
Yes.
120 minutes.
Yeah.
1 minute. Just want to make that clear.
And I mean, like, it's just insulting, after a while.
It's
like
it
there's no
is.
and if you and I it does feel like it could be a Warner Brothers thing because Tony Khan also books ROH and there's always like multiple significant women's matches on ROH.
Yeah.
So I don't know why there's none on AEW.
It's very weird, especially felt like such a kick in the gut this week because of the Charlie Evans Rina Yamashita Sawyer Wreck match that I was just talking about. It's like that happens the same week as the Britt Baker 60 seconds on Dynamite,
Yeah.
And you're just like, there are so many women in this industry that are extremely cool and fun to watch. And none of them none of them are on Dynamite this week, except for Britt. We like Britt, but
but still,
it's just why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you have any of these like Masha Slamovich, like Maki Ito, like all of these women? I'm like always so excited to see it. Yeah, I know they've had her before, but I'm just saying
they could
like
have her.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. Outfit of the week.
I picked Christian Cage's sleeveless turtleneck, and I know that he wears it all the time now, but it's just such a great touch
Yeah.
for him to have wear a turtleneck, like a suit with a turtleneck, and then when he takes off the suit, it's the sleeveless turtleneck
Yeah.
that he wrestles in. It's just so perfect.
Yeah. And I'm going to pick Taya Valkyrie because, again, like just seeing her in person and her whole kit was like, it was great. She looked fantastic. She can really wear the gear, you know?
Yeah.
The gear does not wear her.
No, she wears the gear.
Yeah.
And she's great. No, she really, I have high hopes right now that I'm glad that she didn't win like championships before I got used to her in AEW, because I'm like, oh, now I'm like really starting to like her more.
Mm-hmm.
And if she had just like beaten Jade Cargill immediately, it might have felt kind of like, all right, they just kind of rushed her to it.
Yeah.
But now I do have a note for not her though, when they set up her versus Toni Storm for Battle of the Belts, because I was like, it was just kind of weird because she just lost a bunch of matches, but then she had a women's world title shot. But I remember that Battle of the Belts was in Canada, and she might be the only Canadian woman on the roster. And so, off the top of my head, but it's still a great match, even though the weather, of course, the weather stopped the women's match from Battle of the Belts from being shown in its entirety on TV. But the way they set it up was Toni Storm came out, and like I was like, oh, they're gonna, because she was like, you've been losing a lot, Taya, and I was like, oh, they're going to do a thing, because Taya Valkyrie also was in WWE for a little while. She was at NXT as Frankie Monet. And so I thought Toni Storm was going to be like, you've been losing a lot. And you know why you've been losing a lot? And her response was like, because you're a loser. And I was like, no, it should have been, you've been losing a lot because you're alone. You should be with us because we're all out. Like, you're an outsider. You're a WWE person like us. You should be like, you're a vet who came from somebody else. You're not like a homegrown AEW. You should be with us. And then she could have been like, screw you, I'm my own person. And then they have a match. But instead, it was just like this weird kind of aimless back and forth insult thing. And it was just like, felt right there, you know?
Very few of the storylines on AEW right now feel like they have organic forward momentum. You know what I mean? Like, the MJF Adam Cole thing has it because it's like they have to be a tag team and they are like trying to figure out their relationship, and that's kind of what we're looking forward to every week. But it's hard when I watch AEW to notice anything else that's like that, because I feel like a lot of it right now, and I'm just talking about like right now, a lot of it is kind of like that. Like, people are just like mad at each other to be mad at each other.
I think there's a lot of people who are like changing. Like Jack Perry, formerly Jungle Boy, is definitely like trying to figure out himself as a heel. Because right now it just kind of, he wrestled really well this week. I mean, Hook versus him was a great match, but it was very much like he's just doing impressions of every heel from the past 25 years, because he just doesn't really, I don't think he really knows how to be a heel. He's such a natural babyface, and he's so good at that, and he's only really wrestled that way. So now it's like, you know, he's just going to have to figure it out. And so like there's a justifiable reason for him to have turned heel, because the fans turned on him, and he's like not used to people not liking him, and he's jealous. But he should just be like following that and being like, I'm Hollywood, I'm better than you. I'm in this piece of East Coast trash Hook has, because he's, you know, from Hollywood, right? He should be like, he won a title and I don't have a title. That's stupid. And so he's just like lean into that more. So there's justifiable reasons, but the character feels so broad right now that it like feels almost unjustified. And Blackpool Combat Club and Elite will be done now, feuding with each other.
Yeah.
And Blood and Guts was great, very
Maybe
fun.
that's what it was. It's because it's like it's the end of that Blackpool Combat Club storyline, so it's like we're
going
kind
to
of
a new
in
season.
Yeah, we're kind of going in between these things, and so the MJF Adam Cole thing is really the only thing that has that organic momentum, and everything else is kind of like, well, we told them to fight.
Yeah. Except for, of course, Pac versus Gravity coming up on this Dynamite, because Gravity forgot him.
I think we need to do our nerd fantasy booking.
Okay, what did I write down here?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I just want CM Punk to start doing vignettes with all of the billionaires that he's friends with. So I want him to be like hanging out with David Zaslav and be like, oh, hey, I'm just hanging out with my buddy David. So what's going on? And he's just be friend to billionaires CM Punk. If you are just billionaire CM Punk, corporate sellout CM Punk, shill, I would love it.
Yeah, that's great.
We don't have to talk about
I didn't write this down because I forgot to pick one, but I have one ready, luckily. I want, when FTR face MJF and Adam Cole, I want Nick Gage and Maki Ito to come out and spoil it and take the titles for themselves.
You want them to steal them?
Yes, with violence.
With violence?
Ruthless violence. Knives and
And
stuff.
then I want Nick Gage to say the F word on.
Yeah, and
on
Maki
AEW.
Ito flips everybody off,
Yeah.
and they get a big FCC fine.
Yeah. Dude,
No.
it's worth it, Tony. You can afford it.
I just think Maki Ito and Nick Gage are great, and
Yeah.
I would love to see them in a place like AEW doing, crazy stuff.
Yeah, and they are a tag team.
And
now.
that would be a fun way to kind of end that because it's so spoilery. It's so like,
Yeah.
oh, we didn't see this coming at all.
Yeah, because I'm trying to figure out like who's going to turn on MJF or Cole. Like, who's going to turn first? And it's
Yeah.
like neither.
I don't want them to turn on each other.
I don't want them to turn on each other either. And it seems too. But I don't think FTR is going to lose those titles for like a year. So I don't know. It's interesting.
Maybe if Maki Ito comes and slits
Unless-
their throats. Just kidding.
Unless they do a
She would
full.
never.
Unless they do a full like official brand split and they have 2 sets of tag team titles.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
also another thing about GCW, Nick Gage and Maki Ito could be the tag team champions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's what I want.
You know what I mean? Like
It'd
that's
be funny.
great.
It'd be great. And it would really insulate AEW from all this criticism we're throwing
Yeah.
at them about women's wrestling.
It's also
you know?
interesting that AEW Fight Forever, one of the selling points, I guess, is that it's like you could just have anybody from the roster can do anything. You
Mhm.
can fight anybody with anybody.
Yeah.
There's no like gender thing. You could any character can win any championship in the
Mhm.
game. So why aren't we doing that on TV?
Yeah.
Why
Right.
can't Britt Baker challenge for the world title or something? You know?
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all the time we have this week.
Okay, great.
Everybody, we love you so much.
Yeah,
Please
smash.
subscribe, smash and subscribe.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Bye.